Hey guys, EST here, and I wanted to make this series forever. I usually go really into depth on this stuff, but I might in the future. If you're really curious about it, you're like, oh, I want to hear more about that, either do research yourself or request that I make a full video on it down in the comment section. So without further ado, prepper misconceptions. And most of these come from Hollywood and video games. Not that I'm like dumping on those. I love, movies, except for modern ones. And boy, do I play a lot of video games. But it's the kind of stuff that's not like, wow, somebody would be an idiot to actually believe this. What a naive person. What a dumb 10-year-old believing this is how the world works. I'm talking about the subtle stuff that if you stopped and thought about it for like 5 seconds, you'd think, oh yeah, that isn't right. Kind of like, why is their hair perfect? Why is their skin and teeth perfect? Why is their teeth that white if they're in, Lord of the Rings or whatever? Why is their, clothing look perfect when, Walking Dead season 4, they've been out there for years. I think for that one, they kind of roughed it up actually a little bit. I do wonder who is cutting those lawns though. But yeah, it's just that kind of thing where you don't know to think of it, but then it gets in the back of your head and you start thinking it's reality. And if you're about to say, I never base anything based on movies and TV and video games, well, you do if you have no other basis for it. You just don't know you're doing it. Your brain just kind of marks it as, well, that must be reality pending, evidence to the contrary. And that is what I'm going to cover, but I'm going to kind of breeze over these. So number one, and everything in this series, and this is going to be an ongoing series, is something that you probably haven't heard before on other prepper channels where they're like, oh, here's a misconception, and they just copied some other top 10 list website and they're just reading it off because they're lazy. And they usually don't know what they're talking about. No, we go way deeper with this one and a little bit more subtle, except for the first one. So that's the disclaimer. Okay, so a person buys a gun, first time gun owner, or they've always had a gun, but it's just around the house. Now they want to carry a pistol on them. They get a concealed carry permit, or they get training. They can constitutionally carry, whatever it is. And they're like, I have the apex problem solver. I don't need anything else. I've gone to the highest level. I can stop any threat, any kind, any type. That is incorrect. It should almost be a law that any gun purchase comes with a less than lethal option. And the best of the best, almost the exclusive one that actually works, is pepper spray. To just give you a quick overview, if a dog or a wolf or something is attacking you or growling, menacing you as they call it, you can shoot it because that is in the US, and check your local areas, cities, states, some of them are different. But generally, a threat of great bodily injury or death, you can stop it with lethal force. That exact definition is somebody threatening you, shoving you, punching you. Is that any of those? No, not usually. So now you have to deal with that without your gun. You pull out your gun, you're going to jail. Brandishing, you'll be lucky if all you get is a citation. Warning shot, there is no such thing. Warning shot, that's called discharging a firearm in city limits. Good luck with that one. There may morally and logically be something like a warning shot. I think it's quite a polite thing to do to scare people off, but legally, in almost any area, no. You might get away with it, because the prosecutor or attorney general, whoever handles that, I forget, or the judge, they might just be like, this is ridiculous. What, like, this person isn't even a criminal. Okay, slight, like, hey, don't do it again, Now, can we bring in the case to the guy beating his wife? They have bigger fish to fry, but you never want to lean on that. So if a dog is attacking you, you can shoot it. If a dog is attacking your dog, aka legally your property, you cannot defend your property in almost any state with lethal force. And even if it's not against a person, you cannot fire a gun, period, to protect your dog. Now, what you say about it when the cops get there and you find out there was no video around, or just don't give them a statement and let them try to prove it and build a case, that's one of the few times where you shouldn't say anything. I'm just saying. But yeah, I mean, somebody wants to fight you, somebody wants to rob you, or they're acting erratically, or they shoved you and now they're talking about how it's the end of the world and the aliens in their head and all that, but they don't have a weapon. A lot of, dumb macho gun tuber idiots will tell you, get training, hit the mats, you gotta go. Okay, well, I don't have the money, I don't have the time, and all the ones in my area are crap. So let's go with plan B of I'm just gonna pepper spray him. And honestly, even with my fighting skills, an average to below average person, like a really unhealthy person or someone smaller than me, give him a knife even, I'm gonna win 95 times out of 100. I'm a little worried about the 5, and I'm not gonna risk my life for a 1 in 20 roll of the dice, okay? And pepper spray isn't magic, okay? They got glasses, or they just have some kind of natural, not immunity or resistance, but like, some people it affects really strongly, and some people it's like, oh, well, that's annoying and it hurts, but I can still see. Like, they can kind of power through it. And also, don't buy the gel stuff and don't buy foggers. Buy, like, real pepper spray. Also, it expires. I mean, I'm just saying, you want options, because what if your gun jams, too? What if they are firing a gun at you, you fire at them, you run out of ammo, or your gun jams? Or you drop it, or there's, malfunction you can't clear, or whatever. Well, if they come around the corner, you're going to want something other than your run foo powers, because if you're not further than about 20 yards, and even then, lucky shots happen, let's just say. Most criminals aren't marksmen, but still. I'd go for the distract, disarm, get close, deflect, whatever the other D's are, and then the last D is pepper spray him in the face. The D is silent on that one. Maybe it's don't forget to pepper spray him in the face. There you go. So that's the one I really wanted to drive home, because it's like, yeah, local laws, look it up in your area, your country, your city, your county, your whatever. Okay, I'm just saying, if I had to define myself, it would be very, very, like, I would be sweating bullets waiting for the attorney general to, see if they have something better to do that day. Or if you live in a Democrat city, find out your age, gender, and skin color. Lot of activist prosecutors and AGs out there, anyway. Oh, by activist, I mean racist lefties. But that kind of stuff, would I rather have pepper sprayed the guy? Absolutely. And plus, just generally, I don't want to have to shoot someone. Not just because of, like, all the sleepless nights and the money and the defense, the lawyers and the overnight in jail / holding or whatever, and the bail and everybody finding out and thinking of you differently and talking to you differently. There's another misconception, okay? This isn't like some stupid action movie where you just shoot someone and they're like, yeah, that's fine. If there's 50 different camera angles, 100 witnesses, and you stopped a mass shooter, let's just say I don't think you're going to jail over that, and that they'd be nuts to file charges, but life isn't movies, so I'm going to throw that one on the tail end. This is all going to be gun and self-defense ones if I don't move on, though. So, next up. People who say I am absolutely not leaving my house. First of all, that is a ridiculous myth, because fire or flood. I throw a flaming bottle of alcohol up on your roof to get you to come out, and when you come out, I'm going to shoot at you. Because you've got something I need. I'm starving, and I'm clever. And have a bottle of hydrocarbon fuels, like a glass bottle, and a lighter and a rag. And also, you have to sleep sometime. And also, I'm really sneaky and coming up and there's no light. Look, sometimes you're going to have to leave your house, okay? That's like misconception number 1. Number 2, eventually you're going to have to leave no matter what. Let's just say you're like, I got generator, wells, backup, this and that, filters, multiple systems, whole bunch of firewood, and just, you got animals, gardening. Oh, you could stay here forever and be fully self-sufficient. It's called homesteading. First of all, 1 in 3 people in the world get cancer, so good luck with that. I was going to save this for the next misconception video. I'm not. This one really annoys me. Enjoy pulling teeth with no anesthetic and no skill knowing how, or living with a toothache. Enjoy infected cuts that just cannot be cured and you die from a simple little cut. Enjoy starving to death because one person got lost or attacked or left and you sprained your ankle and can't do anything. If you're like, yeah, I kind of hope the collapse is coming because I'm so ready, I'll be so much better than everyone else. Go change the temperature in your house by 5 degrees. That's it. Nothing else. You can keep your fridge on. You can keep the TV going. Just change the temperature 5 degrees and see how unhappy that makes your mood. See how you like living with that. Eat nothing but rice, oats, beans, and noodles for 4 days. No seasoning. I'll allow some soy sauce because that stuff has a shelf life of forever too. Fine. Throw some unrefined coconut oil in it too. With peanut butter. That's actually sounded pretty tasty, but eat nothing but that for a week. I'm not actually saying do it. I'm just saying imagine it. It's quite rhetorical, but you're going to find yourself with a lot lower quality of living and mood and outlook on the future after like a week, let alone a month, let alone a year. It is not a good way to live. And just FYI, just the whole, I'm going to go out in the woods and live there. There are like reality TV shows, and by that I mean actual reality and actual competitions that are actually fair and not staged, where they do that. And the people are like, this is awful. And they always end up almost starving. And these are like experts, and out of like 20 people or whatever, you'll get the last one and they're still doing terrible. And yeah, so that they can't just live out there in perpetuity, although with a backup medical team and medical checkups every week or whatever, just saying. They do only allow them like, 1 or 2 items of their choice or something like that. So that's more like being stranded on a deserted island with nothing. But yeah, if you had to build your own bow and not have like a 22 to hunt with, yeah. If you had your choice of anything and you had a day to prepare and then left, okay, that's a different story. But still, you would have to be one of the best experts in the world to pull that off, and that's by yourself. Also, people say it's so boring and it's just, what is the point? it stops being fun. You get sick of fishing and hunting and the temperatures and the constant, layers and wood chopping and repetition and boredom and nothing to do. Living is boring. You got to do something else. You got to have something to make your mind occupied. So one, the whole lone wolf thing, I'm just going to go out in the woods. I don't trust anyone. They're all going to backstab me and steal my stuff while I'm sleeping. You have to have a group. If you don't have a group, you're dead. If you sprain your ankle, you're dead. You need to sleep sometime. You can gather stuff, look around, scout, perimeter security. I think they said 3 to 6 people is the ideal amount, upwards of 12 or something. Like they did a study about what would work with average people. But the number is never 1, and even 2 is pretty rough. For like a survival, get stuff going, gardening, hunting, security. Not even like a town or like a colony or whatever, but just like a group just trying to survive out in the woods or something. And you get 50, that's just too many mouths to feed, and there's not enough like deer to go around or whatever. But the whole lone wolf, I don't need anyone, I don't trust anyone, every man for himself, and another person is another mouth to feed. No, absolutely not. And I said I wouldn't repeat stuff that you hear on other prepper channels under misconceptions commonly, and then I said that one anyway, but it's good to hear. I won't really elaborate though, I kind of hit on it. So next, moving back to the whole you might have to leave your house thing, I hinted at what the long term would be. Let's circle back to that. Let's say you've got the filters, the solar, the everything. Do you have 1,500 to 3,000 watts to run HVAC? And also, by the way, you're going to run out of clothes, and that's even if you have a way to do laundry. Just throwing that out there. And if you I'm just not going to wash my clothes because I watch Walking Dead and that's where I get my info from, you are going to have every single kind of smell, bacterial issue, any cut will get infected, mold issues, athlete's foot. You can't just not wash clothing. Nobody in all of history did that. They either walked around shirtless and mostly not wearing clothes, or they washed their dang clothes somehow. Everyone did it because nobody can stop doing it, okay? You can't do it. It doesn't work. Certain types of fabric, certain types of, I do this, I do that, I just rinse it, whatever. Okay, cool. But you can't just, I'm going to walk around my clothes and just tough it out and I don't care about the smell. That doesn't work. The level of bacteria and mold involved in that, it's humans are not meant to wear clothes really, like biologically. But also we suck at being, without clothes. Unless it's a perfect temperature, we're pretty much dead. And we have rather thin skin. So yeah, humans are awful. But speaking of that, a lot of people on YouTube, if you haven't seen this, at least go check out one. But a lot of people are into the whole exploring abandoned places or like places reclaimed by nature. Even if you just saw something like on TV a million years ago about, here's the Chernobyl, thing with look at this tree growing through the middle of their house because they had to all up and abandon it. Oh, look how creepy the imagery. Oh, look how it's sensationalized and we're calling it a documentary, but it's really just artistic shots with a camera that aren't representative and no numbers, stats, or graphs. Ooh, how educational. But I mean, even like an empty J.C. Penney's, a Sears, Kmart, entire shopping malls, and then like the roof collapses and you get a little tiny bit of water and sunlight and all of a sudden everything's plants and moss and water damage and mold. The water, the rain, it just dissolves everything. Eventually it's getting through the roof. And so you might think, I'll reinforce my roof in my rural house out in the middle of nowhere that was just built 2 years ago or whatever, where you think you're all set up with everything and you're like, I could just live here. Well, you kind of get it in the back of your head because they make it just work because movie or because video game in both of those said media platforms, I guess would be the term. Your house doesn't stop aging and falling apart just because there's a person living in it. In fact, you're probably making it worse with dust and skin cells and exhaling. What does stop it is a flawless, leak-proof, waterproof roof, which, a good roof should last, 30 to 50 years or something? I don't even know. So, you might be good there, but windows don't last forever, but also, what's really going to break a window? And you can board it up. Nobody needs windows, but what is going to get to you is the lack of heat controls, cold controls, but overwhelmingly more than just those with dry rot and freezing and thawing and all that. Cracking, thermal expansion, whatever, is mold from humidity. And also if it's too dry, you're going to get dry rot. Not every material is susceptible to that, but we use fragile junk like plaster, stucco, I guess drywall, but not really. But that stuff doesn't last forever, Drywall is great, but stale non-moving air and blackout curtains and stuff, you're gonna get mold. Most houses have mold. It's usually from the shower. You could always just shower outside, but eventually, especially your basement, because that's so much cooler. Usually concrete, or if it's a semi-finished or fully finished basement, you got metal. You're gonna get condensation. You're gonna get mold all over your basement within like a year or two, no matter what, unless you run a dehumidifier. It's that simple. And that's like your natural cooling. That's your, it's 90 degrees out and then at night it's 80. I can't sleep up here. It's too dang hot. I'm going to the basement kind of thing. That's your, I need to keep my dry rice and my dry goods cool, because at 75 plus degrees, they will degrade to an unhealthy amount of, calories all depleted after 5 to 10 years, I think, above 75 degrees even Fahrenheit. Yeah, if it's 90 plus the sun's beating down on the roof, it's like 100. First of all, you're not going to be in the dang house. Secondly, you're probably going to have the windows open, blowing all kinds of pollen and mold spores in. And third, your air conditioner probably pulls between like 600 and 1500 watts. More if it's above 120 volts AC in America. Central air, I don't even know. Several thousand watts, maybe? You don't have enough solar, wind, or whatever generator fuel to run that. I'm just telling you right now, you don't. Unless you built the craziest like $1 million compound I have ever seen, and even then your batteries are going to wear out after like 5 to 10 years. And that'll be right around when the mold reclaims your house, whether you're living in it or not. So magically occupying a house doesn't magically stop it from degrading. Okay, what does is climate control. And you have no way to draw that much power. My dehumidifier runs like all summer when it's damp out. And that thing is several hundred watts, like constant almost. Now I am curious, because it might be way off here. How did people do it before any of that was invented? I know that they did like, a stone or a mud hut, and then like open air, the windows are open, and it's all, everything's circulating air, and it's no organic matter and that kind of stuff. Don't build it on stuff that rots. It's that simple. But I think even like wood, wouldn't they just like, they would varnish it with some kind of natural whatever to prevent mold, or they would just replace the logs in a log cabin, or I don't know. It depends on the area, the building materials, and the climate. But here in northern North America, where I'm at, it's going to be something with the snow and the ice and the water and the fog, the humidity, the dryness. We get everything up here. And eventually it's going to start damaging your house, and it's going to be unlivable. It's basically going to be condemned if you can't run the HVAC. And like I said, you can't. Just assume you can't, because you can't. So you're leaving eventually. You'd be better off living in a tent in your front lawn than in your house after enough years, because it'll be so coated in mold. And so what can you do about it? Is there something you could magically coat your walls with? I don't know, throw baking soda everywhere? I have no idea. Usually pH stuff is how you do it. Maybe salt. I mean, that's how you usually kill almost any pathogen. But within reason, your house is going to degrade. There's nothing you can do to stop it unless you've got 500 gallons of bleach. And even that, like, I can't think of one single way to stop it. But then I thought, well, people used to have root cellars. They dig them. How did they do that? Did they just cover it? Or the winter when you use it? I don't know. I don't get it. Heck, how'd they stop it from flooding? I know people in the 1700s had root cellars. How did that work? If anybody knows how, like, you just do this and then your structure will not have mold problems. I consider myself pretty knowledgeable about pathogens and this kind of stuff, and like degradation. And I mean, I've worked for a house flipping company a long time ago, but I'm at a loss for anything you could do at all within reason to make your house last more than 5 years with no climate control. So you're probably going to have to leave eventually. The whole, like, Walking Dead, it's like season 8, they're staying in these pristine houses, and they're like, oh yeah, we've just got some solar panels and wind and something else, probably biodiesel, I don't know. Really? You grow your own food for like 50 people without farmland too? Really? Yeah, stop getting your ideas from, sci-fi futurist movies and video games, TV series, all that kind of stuff, where you move in and it stops being condemned by magic. So I think that's good for this episode. The whole don't have just a gun, have less than lethal too. Oh, also tasers, contact stunners, terrible. They just piss people off. If you don't get them in the neck or the spine, the brain stem, they are not even going to be dazed. They're just going to be angry and with more adrenaline. And if you have the skills to put a contact, like, drive stunner into somebody's neck, you might as well just use your fist into their neck so they can't breathe. Just bypass, like, the stun, taser flashlight thing or whatever you got. I've gotten tased in the hand, and I'm like, well, that felt awful, but then 1 second later, I could have taken a swing at someone. They're useless. Pepper spray, I would almost rather be shot. That stuff burns pretty badly. But yeah, LTL. I mean, even just like a club or something, or like, I mean, that's kind of assault with a deadly weapon. A baseball bat's a deadly weapon within context. Look, you're going to get minor slap on the wrist assault charges if you get the worst possible prosecutor, a judge, and represent yourself or take a plea deal or something for pepper spraying someone under conditions where they probably should have gotten pepper sprayed. And the majority of the time, it'll just be like, yeah, that's self-defense. Nobody got hurt because it's pepper spray. So buy pepper spray. You need more than a gun, and you need it double if you already are carrying a gun. Because then you'd be tempted to whip it out instead of, oh, we're just going to get in a fight then, but this is physical and non-life threatening, so I'm not going to pull a gun. It's a lose-lose, unless you win the fight, which probably not. So also, gun laws, know them, dogs versus property versus whatever, and sometimes less lethal is needed, sometimes lethal, and there's very little crossover. And your house, you might be forced to leave it either instantly under some kind of attack or a fire or a flood, but eventually because of mold, unless some magic way around it. But typically just everything from the carpet to the ceiling and the roof are not meant to last long enough or be like, a 300-year-old solid stone structure or something. And even then you might have to scrub or alcohol, salt, some pH thing, citric acid, whatever kills mold because of condensation on the walls. It just is what it is, not to mention moss. So yeah, you can't just, I'm going to live in my house for the next 15 years if everything collapses. Well, no, you're not. Nor can you just live out in the woods alone. And it's hard enough with unlimited items, planning, prior notice, and a team of 4 people, let alone by yourself. Okay, don't just think that's where I'm going to go, that's what I'm going to do. Because within about a day, you'll be bored. You'll be bored with playing, Boy Scouts. And you won't be saying, yeah, this is awesome, no more taxes or job. When you're sleep-deprived, lonely, bored, and just existing to exist. With nothing constructive to do but survival stuff, okay? That nobody can take the crushing boredom of that. And so that and more was covered in this video. If you want to make suggestions for the next one, let me know. Otherwise, I already have some notes for stuff to cover in that one because there are a lot of prepper and preparedness misconceptions out there, and I'm going to clear them up. So thanks for watching. Leave a big like if you appreciated the video, and I'll see you guys next time.